kissing cousins. Let's stand and declare an affirmation to charge our environment this morning. Affirm with me now, our future is bright, because we're here. Try it again. Our future is bright, because we're here. We can make a difference. High five somebody on your left and right and say, you can make a difference. Go ahead. Give yourselves a round of applause. You may be seated. Always good to be back here for the family reunion. Just look at you and see the family resemblance, can't you? All that handsome and cuteness, and I'm telling you, it's good to be here. It's always a pleasure to get to stand in the space of such a tremendous spiritual giant you have in Reverend Edward, and that you gift him with the opportunity to go and recharge his spiritual batteries. It's so very important. Let's send him love wherever he is. So we've been looking at creativity this month, I understand, and so I have an interesting approach to the topic, and so we've installed seat belts for you to really be able to follow with me in this process. But my topic is the courage to design our lives for such a time as this. The courage to design our lives for such a time as this. And one writer wrote, we are living in the best of times, we are living in the worst times. You said that second one with a lot of zeal and passion. And these times that we find ourselves in are of our own creation. Somehow or other, we got creative. And I think it was really weighing in on Santa Rosa that I think the Santa Rosa consciousness is what really caused the times. I had to get back here to get it straight, you know? But whatever times we find ourselves in, we created these times consciously or unconsciously. And I'm willing to believe we did it unconsciously, yes? Someone said our ancestors. But since we're here, we get to be the representatives of our ancestors and and for our future. And look at how we can shift from where we find ourselves. Now, creativity is something that we all possess. Our lives are a direct reflection of our engagement with our gifts, our talents, our skills, all that we are endowed with. There was really only one creation. And that creation or recreation continues to occur by means of our divine potential, that the infinite touches down in the finite, and as the infinite touches down in the finite, seeks to express itself through me and through you, through our creative gifts, our talents, our skills, and our abilities. And the question is, what are we giving the infinite to do through our finite awareness? And for some of us, we give the infinite the kinds of jobs that cause the world to be separate. It caused the world to be in chaos and confusion and fear. It is our job, if we find ourselves in a mess, to clean it up. Now, I know we feel more comfortable having someone else's creativity to blame it upon. Who knows what I'm talking about? That somehow they got us into this mess. We call this the other. You know who the other is. The other day I went upstairs into our 2-story home, and it was very quiet. I have 3 children. Quiet children in the morning is something to have one be suspicious about. Unusually quiet up there, and so I decided to go upstairs to sneak up on the children to see exactly what was going on. And upon my arrival, I discovered the artist at work, discoloring the wall that we had already aptly painted for them. Beautiful red color, I think it was, they thought was, and not that marker that we can get off, the good old permanent one to let us know that they've been there. I said, children, what are you doing in here to the wall? Look at the wall. We already had this wall painted. My daughter, Camila, looked at her sister, Angelina. Well, she's the oldest. That there's this something about this other that we're comfortable identifying and redirecting the blame to so that we don't have to take any responsibility for the world that we find ourselves in at any given time. But the old adage remains true. Come on, if it is to be, come on, talk to me. If it is to be, let's say it in the first person and try it out. Come on, if it is to be, it is up to me. Yeah. Now look at someone nearby and just tell them, if it is to be, it's up to thee. Because that's more like how we like it, you know. If it is to be, it's up to thee. What is the world? There's a distinction between the earth and the world. The earth is the planet that we live on, but the world is a projection of our collective consciousness. Whatever our collective consciousness happens to be at any given time, this constitutes the world. And so we can literally have all types of worlds going on. You know, when I visit the South, I realize that I live in a California bubble. Don't we have a bubble in California? It's like, whoa. So our world is a projection of our collective consciousness, and right now the world seems to be populated and polluted with fear and separation and hate crimes and violence and so much that I believe is a misrepresentation of what the presence touched down in us for. I don't think the presence wants to be used in that way. Would you agree? Yes. And so somewhere along the way, a shift must occur in us individually, because when a shift occurs in us individually and one by one more and more of us become awake, we'll stop trying to make the world a better place. We'll start to create a world that works for all. Let that settle in. I was with Sharif Abdullah, the author of the book, A World That Works for All, just yesterday, and he's at our center today. And he was trying to help us to understand that our desire to make the world a better place is always subject to our set of preferences. Adolf Hitler was trying to make the world a better place. But the means by which his worldview could hold for the world being a better place was the elimination of an entire race of people. So what would it be like if we stopped trying to solve the problem at the level that the problem was created? We cannot shoot our way to peace. We cannot hate our way to love. We cannot separate ourselves to oneness. There must be a higher way of thinking, yes? Einstein said that no problem can be solved at the level that the problem was created. And so this idea of not making the world a better place, but co-creating a world that works for all, that's a shift, isn't it? Because in such a world, I have to become something I have not been before. I have to imagine something I haven't imagined before. What if I imagine that I could create a world where my highest value were children, or peace, or love? If the highest value was love and peace, what kind of world would we be creating? But since we hold money as the highest value, look at what we have for ourselves. Tell somebody nearby it wasn't me. Go ahead and tell them it wasn't me. So how do we do this? How do we get to this place? I want to give us a few steps. The first thing is we must discover ourselves. Everybody say, discover yourself. Discover what your potential is and what it can become. Let us begin to recognize that we are filled with power and we shape the world with what we think, what we say, and what we do. How do we shape our world? With, come on, what we think, what we say, and what we do. That is power. In and of itself, that contains power. And some of us are tearing away at the fabric of a vision of a world that works for everybody by what we are saying constantly. Have you been in the audience of or company of individuals whose mouths, it's like a cancer? It's like secondhand sickness, you know what I mean? That they say things that make you squeal and quiver and contort yourselves. Why? Because there's something within you that is good, that does not resonate with something that would alienate others, that would not cause others pain. And so when you discover that within you, you have the power to speak to a world vision that you hold, you get to be an interruption right where you are. Are you hearing me? You start saying things like, not on my watch. Come on, say it with me. Come on, say it again. Not on my watch. When you can see what you have working within you at the individual level, your contribution starts to form the mosaic that becomes the new heaven and the new earth. Have you got it? The second thing is develop yourself. Everybody say with me, develop yourself. Before we go out there and try our talents out on the world, we may want to, develop them. Because talent can take you places that your character may not be able to keep you. How many of us have gotten into places because of our talent, but then had no character to back it up? I've gotten into so many places because of my stunning good looks, I'm telling you. It's a good thing I have some character to back it up. Say, I don't know him at all. I don't know why they invited him. But talent is not sufficient. Skill is not sufficient. But character is who you are when no one else is around. what you're up to, what you're thinking about, what you're saying. That you want to have well developed, because you will get your chance in the spotlight. You will have your opportunity at the microphone. The world will lean in to hear what it is you have to say, and who you really are will be shown before the earth. Make sure your character does not betray you. Anybody, can you think of any examples that we might point to that would help us to really bring this home? Nobody here? Okay. Well, if you traveled with him to church this morning, just look at me straight ahead. If that's somebody you're thinking about, just look straight ahead. Don't even blink. Look right at me. You want to get your ride back home now. Develop yourself. Life is worthwhile if we develop ourselves. Dare yourself is the next one. What did I say? Come on. Dare yourself. If you've taken the time to develop yourself, discover yourself, then dare yourself to dream worlds that never were. Tap into those creative gifts that you haven't tapped into and bring them forth into the world. Sometimes you take that dare out of a painful experience, out of a painful encounter. For me, recently, my wife, Anita, now being married 10 years, and I thought I'd get an amen or a clap or something for 10 years. I mean, I've been putting up with her stuff for 10 years. No, I'm kidding. She's not here. She's not here. But now together for 10 years, after right around the time of the election results, the night of the election, anybody remember that night? Do you remember where you were that night? Okay. Well, we had streamers up at the house. You know, come on, you had a party. We had a party going. We had people coming over, bottles of champagne, high-fiving each other on the way in, you know, all of this, you know, pointing at each other, celebrating, big smiles, big TV on. It's lit up in the house, and it was just an incredible time. And as the results came in, it's, you know, a little bit at a time, it was like the wattage was coming out of the bulbs in the house, and the house just started, looked like it was getting darker and darker. And then after a while, the popcorn seemed soggy, and people who came in gung-ho were like, all right, I'm going, it's getting kind of late. I'm going to get on in, and one after the other, people left the house, and it was kind of down to me. And I'm looking around for my wife. I'm like, well, I hope she didn't leave me here by myself. I mean, and seriously, I had to find my wife. And so I searched around the house and finally went upstairs and found her in a closet folded over because the results had come in. Because when she thinks of creating a world, she's thinking of creating a world from her highest value, which is that of equality and that of safety and love for our children. And so she felt so duped and cheated. She was just devastated. And so I held her, and she cried, and how can you be so calm? Well, you know, I'm working with another program here. But I continue to be with her. And just before I go to this next part, let me just say this, just in a way of sensitivity. I wasn't here to talk to you all shortly after the results came in, but 8 years ago, half the country had the same experience. And then had it again 4 years later. Who knows what I'm talking about? Don't out yourself. You might be some violent people in here. Just So this experience is not new to anyone of somehow seeming to feel like the wind was taken from you and somehow the earth is coming to an end and all of that. But my wife was really down. So the next day, she made a decision to be more creative than the seeming problem. Do you realize that what's being called for from us right now is not more of the same, but a more creative solution? We've got to have a creative way of looking at this thing. If we want a world that works for everyone, if we want a world of peace, we've got to learn, rather than to fight each other, maybe we should start singing for peace, selling brownies for peace. I'm talking about induced brownies. You know what I'm saying? Brownies for peace. You Californians are something else. But come up with something that will be in alignment with who you truly are, that will give your gifts an opportunity, a time to thrive and flourish, and give back something to the planet from yourself. And so my wife comes in the next morning, bright and shiny, crisp, and says, I'm starting a rally. I said, you're going to a rally? She said, no, I'm starting a rally. I said, oh, so you're like starting a rally? She said, yes. And I need some help. I said, okay, well, I'm here to help you. What do you need? She said, well, we're going to be on the state capitol and taking our stand and holding up the values of love and inclusion and equality and et cetera, et cetera. And before long, she organized in rapid succession an organization, not-for-profit, called Women for Equality, committed to taking a stand, yes, taking a stand anytime the values of inclusion and love and peace and nonviolence are threatened in the public square, that they would be the voice for this. And not long after that, we were standing on the Capitol steps, hundreds and news cameras and all of this. And she did this out of the creative impulse to find true expression for such a time as this. Be willing to dare yourself. Dare yourself. Dr. King said everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You only need a heart full of love and a soul generated by grace. What is it that you have in your house? What is it that you have in your heart? What is it that you are automatically equipped with that if you were to bring it forth today, you'd be able to hold up your half of the sky just a little bit more firmly? These unique times are calling for us to have courage. And I say courage is our ability to address the facts with the truth. Facts are always subject to change. Truth is permanent, unchanging. And it is this understanding that no matter what's going on outside of us, no matter what CNN is reporting to us, CNN, constantly negative news. Constantly negative news. Can we have some positive thing on the news today? I mean, give us something like breaking news. This just in, peace broke out in Santa Rosa. Can we get something like that? Otherwise, as Michael Beckwith says, everything we see on the news is a prayer request. Every headline becomes a prayer request. And so our willingness to dare ourselves, to press ourselves past some of the facts with courage. And that courage will take you places that you've never been before, but it's time for the courageous now. We need people who have the ovarian audacity and the testicular fortitude to challenge the unchallenged, to break the silences that keep us held back. It doesn't matter what your political party is. It turns out that when we step out in this world, we're all breathing the same air, walking on the same green earth. And when we're really honest with each other, deep down, we all want the same things: love and warmth, freedom, abundance, the sense of belonging, the ability to know that we matter, no matter what. Is that true? Yes. And so we have to dare ourselves to say the uncomfortable thing, to do the difficult act, to expose ourselves as heroes when we don't feel heroic. It remains true that we are still the ones we've been looking for. I wouldn't come back if I was Jesus either. You see how they treated him? You still be waiting for me to come. Hammering and nailing and spitting and all this. No, you guys handle it. Greater things than this shall you do. Let me prepare a place for you, Finally, devote yourselves. Everybody say, devote yourself. Devote yourself. Devote yourself to the work that's required on a daily basis, to having our vision more and more enlarged, more and more expressed, more and more accessible, more and more available. We've got to hold these truths to be self-evident. We've got to hold them, though, when it's difficult. We've got to hold on to them when we are in the face of real opposition. We have to hold on to them. Don't be a conveniently new thought when you're in your coffee clutch. Be new thought when it's uncomfortable to be new thought, and perhaps someone else will have a new thought about the world as we see it. It's not so much about converting others, but devoting ourselves to an emerging paradigm where thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is our charge. It's our time to shine. Let's suit up. We've got work to do. And so it is written, and so I've spoken it, and so you have heard it, and so it is. Amen. Let's hold this in prayer for a moment. We fall back into the infinite, into the expansive realm of spirit where a great heart of love encompasses us all. We let that presence now search us. Search us and help us to see what you see in us. A unique, unrepeatable masterpiece, born and sent for such a time as this. Give us the courage, the inner strength, and the audacity to forge peace in our lifetime. I release this word into the law of love in action, knowing that it cannot, will not return unto me void, but comes back filled full of divine promise and providence. And so it is, it cannot be otherwise, and we rejoice because of it. Amen.